All right, Susanna. Hello, hello. It
Mr.
is
Mendoza, how are you?
great. How about you?
Good. Can't complain.
Awesome. Got the branded gear on today?
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna have to get my hands on that.
For sure, for sure. So how's everything in Arizona?
It's very hot still. We're at the tail end of it, and I'm hoping that it's over soon.
All right, all right. Well, yeah, it will start cooling down. I know that. Probably some of this weather is going to hit your neck of the woods soon because it is starting to get cooler than normal here in San Diego, sunny San Diego. So today, Susanna, I'd like to cover a few things here on value add. And then next couple of weeks, we'll have you talk about multiple things on um, the financing department. And if we have a little bit of time, maybe we'll go into that as well. Sound good?
All right. Yep, absolutely.
All right, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and go through this and feel free to give additional input here. So, folks, whenever you buy property, if you're a set it and forget it, this does not apply to you. Meaning you're going to buy a property and you're going to kind of let it run itself. A perfect example like that is I helped a coaching client of mine buy a Dollar General, and it was a set it and forget it. It was triple net lease, single tenant lease, and they had a property manager in place, and it is purely set it and forget it. You park your money, and she was netting about 80,000 a year net on her investment. Not a bad deal. Okay, some folks maybe not even making $80,000 a year. However, if you're that busy professional, a doctor, a dentist, a high income earner, that might be the way to go. However, if you're like majority of the potential investors out there, I would propose this, and what we're going to be talking about today applies mostly to you. So if you're looking to buy a property, do what they call a value add, increase the value by some of the things we're going to go into, you could essentially justify increasing the rent and then turn around and sell it via 1031 exchange, a cash out refi, or straight up sell it, or do what they call a full cycle on a syndication and go to the next investment property. So value add is some could be as simple as physical and aesthetic upgrades on a property. When you do unit renovations, you upgrade the kitchens. You, instead of having like Formica tops, you're going to go ahead and put granite or quartz. Instead of a regular plain white or black refrigerator, you might go with the stainless steel, right? This applies to like kitchens and bathrooms. There might be common area enhancements, redesigning some lobby, waiting areas, some hallways, maybe even some of the handrails that if there you have stairs, maybe there's a on location gym, or you might want to add a gym if there's a smaller unit that might be a studio. That might be a great value add. You might even create a business center in the complex that'll increase the value as well. Another physical aesthetic upgrade is curb appeal. You know, in residential real estate, it's simple, right? You could put turf, you could put zero tolerance lots. Same thing in commercial real estate. When you have a multifamily, you could change the landscaping. You could do a more visible signage. You could certainly repaint the exterior, maybe change some of the lighting, and maybe fix some of the facade technology. When you're looking at some of these gated entries, maybe you could go ahead and put an electronic gate. Maybe in some of the units, you could do thermostats, those Nest kind of deals. You could have maybe packaged lockers when you have Amazon drop-offs. You could add maybe high-speed internet or even keyless entry systems in the hallways and the parking garage, etc. Parking improvements, you know, if you're buying from like out of state, and one of the things that I would strongly suggest for potential investors buying out of state is look at Google Earth And then Google Earth, you take a bird's eye view of the property and you can see right away maybe the roof needs to be replaced or restriping of the parking. Maybe you need to add covered parking or an EV charging station, or have some reserved spots for visitors. So again, those are some of the physical aesthetic upgrades that you can do. Anything to add
That's
on that
such
one,
a good,
Susanna?
yeah, that's such a good point, because I think a lot of people don't realize how much value you can add. So I'm going to give two examples. One is we had a we had somebody who was really focused on the multifamily space here in Arizona, and they added activities for their residents. So they had, yoga sessions, or they had like you walk your dog in the park. And so it doesn't necessarily add to your NOI, but it makes the property sticky, right? Because number one, it attracts more residents who are kind of looking for that, and it's fully optional, right? So it's not going to eliminate anybody, but somebody who's really looking for a community feel, if you offer that. And we had a couple of other ones that were focused on the lower income type thing, and they were offering lessons in financial literacy. So there's different ways that you can do that, and it makes it sticky. It's gonna, right? So when somebody's less likely to move out of a property that has all of these kind of extra amenities. But my other example is where you can actually increase your income. So I really love what you said about parking. So assigned parking, you can charge extra, or if the parking is close to the clubhouse or close to the pool. And one of my previous clients actually added covered parking and started charging for that. Now, you could take that kind of to a much higher level when he ended up putting solar on his covered parking structure. So that was another revenue producer. So this is the way that somebody can really think about, how am I increasing the NOI, and kind of thinking out of the box. So I love all that. And anybody who is interested in real estate needs to be thinking about it, because how many times, especially you in California, Joe, do you have clients, and the cap rates in California are so low already, right? So you really need to maximize your NOI as much as you can, because it's going to impact your level of refinance, or how much you have to put down on a property. And then also a lot of times when you have a lower LTV on the refi, you end up getting a break on the rate, right? So your rate at 65% LTV might be lower than your rate at 75% LTV. So these are super, super valuable. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely, and I've got a bunch more. So,
You
so
have a,
Susanna went
you know
into.
what we should do, Joe? We should put that in a document and give that to people as
Oh,
a thank you
absolutely.
for
So I
joining. I
do have
love
it in the
that.
document. So like if you guys are watching this on YouTube or wherever, LinkedIn, TikTok, go ahead and DM us. I do have this in a document instead of taking all these notes and trying to catch up really fast. I've got it in a very organized document. So feel free to reach out, DM us, and I'll get you this document. So let me kind of jump into a little bit more here. So Susanna did talk about the revenue growth opportunities. So on the revenue growth, she did point out the covered parking and additional parking. Now, how about thinking about this? Like, if you have a fitness center, do you charge extra? Perhaps. Um, is there storage you could set up on site? Well, that might be a great opportunity as well to have a bike storage or additional storage where you could charge rent for these tenants. You can get some pet revenue by having pet rent, additional pet deposits, or perhaps even have a dog washing station. So if you have room by maybe the pool area or something like that, sometimes it's hard. I don't know about you, but I have a couple big dogs, and sometimes a bathtub or a shower is not going to cut it. Um, Short-term rentals. So like you might want to save a unit or two or more as short-term rentals. You own the building, so pretty much maybe that's something you can do, is make it a business executive suite, especially if you're buying a very high business area. And then there's another thing called RUBS, where utility bill backs, you could charge tenants for water, gas, trash, internet, and solar usage. So that's a few other things. ATM, if you have an ATM that you guys may lease or purchase and have it on site, vending machines, billboard signage where you could have some rotating advertisements for either the tenants or some of the local businesses. Rooftop antennas or cell towers is another one. What are your thoughts on those, Susanna?
Yeah, love all of them. I love that dog washing station. You know what? I want one. I mean, I don't live in an apartment, but that actually sounds really good. Um, what was the other thought? Oh, on the ATM, even if it's not your own ATM, a lot of times the people who put in any kind of services, they will do revenue share with the owner as well.
That's right. Absolutely. Now, I was coaching somebody earlier this morning and we were talking about team building. Now, in team building, you recruit, right? There's two components there that are very, very similar to tenants as well. And even the recruiting part, you need to fill up your units where you got to get it as much occupied as possible. But there's this thing called retention. Retention. So you don't want tenants coming into your unit and then all of a sudden breaking their lease or leaving after a year and not renewing. So there's some stickiness that Susanna mentioned. Maybe you create some community events within the multi-family unit, barbecue nights, movie nights, fitness classes, maybe even networking mixers, concierge services. If you have a higher end kind of multifamily kind of complex, maybe you have dry cleaning pickup, additional package delivery and pickup, some housekeeping approved partners. You might have upgraded security, some cameras, controlled access, some gated entry. And you might even have some flexible leases on certain units. So again, that's part of retention and a way to increase your NOI. Any thoughts on those?
Yeah, so I did also want to make some comment about the short-term rental. So you actually do need to check with your financial professional about that because you don't want that. There's a way to do it where it's not going to affect your financing. And I'm just mentioning that because units that are leased on a short-term basis get underwritten differently from units that are long-term. But it's absolutely a good idea. On the gates, I think most lenders just kind of, especially kind of what I consider like a tier one lender, they've kind of expected it already, right? So that's a question that we always get asked. But if it's not in place, it's definitely a plus for security reasons. And I personally really love the community aspect. I recently actually, Joe, spoke to somebody who is now leveraging AI, course, right? That's what everybody's doing, to create an app for their residents and then can offer all of these other additional services or benefits or community, through the app. So that's the first time I've seen it. I'm like, not a bad idea, right? Because you do have like a captive audience, so why not kind of expand how you can influence them? But that's a great list, Joe. I don't even have the list. So hopefully I'm going to DM you and then you'll have to send it to me.
Absolutely. And if you're part of the school community, well, guess what? I'm going to put it in our community. If you're not part of our community, be sure to join school.com. That's SKOOL.com/CREIC. Okay. And you'll get this document as well, part of being in our community. I'm going to start wrapping it up on this list. And there's some bigger plays, folks. So, like if you're looking at these multifamily or even storage facilities or mobile home parks, if you've got extra acreage, extra land, there's so much you can do with that, right? You could chop it up and put more spaces for RV parking. If you have storage, maybe you could add additional storage or have covered boat parking, RV parking, right? You won't just have the mini storage or the regular storage. Maybe you have that extra parcel of land where they could park a boat or RV. And so you always want to look at those value add strategies on like existing properties that have extra land. Okay. You might even want to rezone it where like some of these properties or parcels of land, it might be in your best interest to change the zoning or entitle some of it, where if it's a massive kind of development and you got 30, 40 acres, maybe you turn those into entitled lots where you could actually build homes or mini homes. So there's a lot you can do. One of the things, and I'll give you a buzzword, folks, when you're looking at properties out there, try and look for properties that are right next to each other. We call that contiguous. So when you have parcels of property together, it'll probably be a lot easier to get it through city, the planning, permitting committees and departments if you have them all together. And if you see land next to a commercial property that's kind of landlocked, where there's really no way around it but through your property, you might want to tie that property up as well or negotiate whoever owns it and acquire that property as well. So there's so many different ways. Again, we're trying to drop as many nuggets here as possible in Commercial Real Estate Investor Club that we could take it to a totally different level. But if you're on Zoom, if you're on YouTube, if you're watching on TikTok, we'd love to hear feedback from you where we can actually talk to you one-on-one on some of your certain deals. Always have an exit strategy.
So
When you
along those
buy this,
lines, Joe, I think it
huh?
would be helpful for people to know how they can benefit from either joining the school community or from working with us. And more importantly, so you have just basically were very effective in showing how we can add value if they already own commercial real estate or if they want to buy commercial real estate. How can people make money with us as somebody who is interested in commercial real estate, or maybe they're residential loan brokers or they're agents? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you haven't seen some of our previous episodes or recordings, there's a thing called wholesaling, right? That is one strategy. There's a thing of pivoting. If you're in residential real estate or residential loan origination, time to pivot. If you're not having deals in residential, pivot into mortgage, commercial mortgage loan origination. Join our community and learn how to be a commercial loan originator, a commercial broker, a commercial investor. And if
So
you're in
Joe,
neither,
Joe, let's put some
it,
more detail on that. So let's say somebody is following us and learning all about commercial real estate, but then what would be the next step with as far as if somebody wanted to become a commercial loan broker?
absolutely. So if you're not licensed, the first way obviously is to get in the game, maybe wholesaling. But I always say, even before all that, first you learn, then you earn, right? First you learn, then you earn. Join the community, maybe interview, perhaps if you wanted to take it up a next level for a coaching, mentoring one-on-one, where if you're really serious and committed, you've got to start with the education, training, and mentoring. Why? Because we will help you mitigate your risk and your potential mistakes. So join the community. Consider just learning all these videos, all these different Zoom meetings that we've been having. If you want to kick it up a notch, then for sure, send in your application. We could send you the link to make sure you qualify, because Susanna and I were very busy. We have other coaches and mentors that they're busy as well, but we want to really make sure that you're committed, you're serious, you really want to do this, because it's not anybody, everybody kind of deal, right? And then if you get accepted, and then now we start making it happen. So whether you want to focus on being a broker, where you're in the buying and selling as an agent, whether you want to be a loan originator, where you're helping people refinance because their loans recasting, or even purchase loans, or you want to be an investor. So there's really three categories. So you want to really look at commercial real estate investor club as a true club. We're a community where we could facilitate on all three levels. And the third one, as the investor, again, pointing out earlier to that busy dentist, doctor, anybody like that, if you're super busy and you're looking for an alternative vehicle other than your retirement 401k, anything like that, and you want to learn about getting into real estate, join the club, join the community, and start to learn the different ins and outs of commercial real estate.
That's great. Joe, are there some other ways that people can make money with us? So for example, somebody's learning about commercial real estate, but they're right now, let's say in the residential loan brokering. Is there a way for them to, maybe if they are aware of some commercial loan opportunities, to earn referral fees?
100%. With our company, we have the ability to pay out a referral fee. If you're licensed residential or loan originator, we will gladly pay you a fee. But of course, we got to make sure it hasn't been shopped. It hasn't went through the daisy chain of multiple different wholesalers. I mean, you're direct to the potential seller or the person that wants to refinance. So either way we could help, like I'm a commercial broker. I could easily pay, going rate typically is a 25% referral fee. If you're in residential real estate and this is not even in your language, refer me the deal. I'll pay you a referral fee if all this makes sense or anything like that. But again, it hasn't been shopped. It hasn't been through a daisy chain. You're direct. And we could talk about that offline. So I'm speaking in pure generalities.
Yeah, but I think it's good for people to know, especially people who are MLOs, because every commercial client is also a homeowner, right? There are very few that aren't. So just by letting people know that you have an outlet, and then I promise either next week or the week after, we're going to show them actually how we finance these deals. We're going to show them our search engine. If you now make it known that you have the ability, right? And you may not have the ability to do it on your own, but just by referring the deal, but it's got to be your client, right? So like Joe said, so the daisy chain thing doesn't work. But I wanted to make sure that they're aware of it. And Joe, how has your life changed since when you first started, right? And then you branched out into commercial real estate, which you've been now doing for many years. But how is that landscape different from the residential landscape?
So if you're a residential realtor and you're very motivated, ambitious, you're not doing it part-time, you're really serious, I can assure you, I was once upon a time doing exactly what you were, maybe working 7 days a week. You're on call with your buyers, like almost round the clock, 24/7. You're texting at night, maybe 9 or 10 o'clock at night. In that regard, my lifestyle has changed because a lot of these folks are business people and they only want to do it during Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. So in
Regular business hours. Yeah.
that regard alone, folks, this is why you want to consider maybe adding to it or totally pivoting away. I'm what they call a resi-mercial, where I will still help my friends and family because I don't want to turn my back. A lot of them love me, respect me, and they don't want to put their trust on anybody else. So with the handful of people, I still do the residential side. Once in a while, I might bring a teammate to help them out, but that lifestyle alone, respect. You will have much more respect by knowing the commercial side and the knowledge because let's face it, there's an ongoing joke, Susanna. I don't know if you've ever heard this one, but it kind of goes like this. If you don't know a realtor, you don't have any friends. So it's like everybody knows a realtor. So it's one of those things that speaks very loudly, I think. And like, how do you really separate yourself if you're a realtor out there? It's hard. Oh yeah, I sell homes. I could help you write offers. People have the internet. People have Zillow. People have Redfin. a lot of buyers, consumers out there are more savvier than ever. You start getting into commercial now, you're actually the realtor for life because you're going to help them build a portfolio. You're going to help them retire. You're going to help them one day maybe exit or create generational wealth. So in that regard, you earn their respect. So I want you to think about that, folks. If you're a residential agent or a residential loan originator, you're almost a dime a dozen. And no disrespect, like I said, I'm still a resi-mercial, but how do you separate yourself?
Yeah, and I think adding that commercial skill goes a long way because it just shows, number one, your level of involvement and your level of knowledge. But yeah, a lot of agents or residential MLOs, right? They're trying to figure out a way how to differentiate themselves, especially MLOs also, because they're selling money, right? I mean, and it's the same money no matter where you go. And a lot of times they actually even go to the same lender. So it's yeah, how are you different? I mean, or is it just a numbers game, which, sometimes that works, but in an environment like now where transactions are way down and there's no need to refinance in residential because most people end up getting a, fully fixed rate, fully amortizing mortgage. That's not the case in commercial real estate. Commercial real estate, typically, I would say over 80% of the transactions, and that's a guess, don't quote me on it, maybe it's more, have a maturity date. So everybody is facing that balloon, right? And it's somewhere on the horizon. Maybe it's 3 years, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 5 years. But those transactions have to be refinanced. Whereas in residential, everybody is kind of having to split that very finite pie. There aren't very many kind of options, right? Whereas in commercial, it's always going. Even if there are no transactions happening, the refinancing is still going to happen.
Yes, yes. And you think about from the residential perspective, folks, you're almost one and done sometimes because in residential, as soon as they locked in a 30-year fix, they are done. In commercial real estate, you're looking at adjustables. There is no really 30-year fix most of the time, right? So chances are they're going to refinance two, three, five times if that in a lot of cases. So that keeps you in business, that helps the consumer out as well. It puts them in a better financial position. They do a cash out refi. Well, guess what? They're probably going to buy another property instead of selling it, incurring the capital gains. And how that story goes as well. So, folks,
And
I hope
easier and also easier to get referrals because like you said, everybody already knows a residential real estate agent. So when somebody's looking, right, to list their house or buy a house or whatever, they already have multiple options in mind. But on the commercial side, they aren't really that many. I mean, there's still quite a few, don't get me wrong. It's not like, there's a market gap, but they will refer you to all of their other, whether they're business owners or investors or whoever else, kind of the circles that they're in, they're all going to need commercial financing at one point or another. So referrals are a lot easier to come by. When you ask somebody, hey, who else can I talk to? Those people typically will not already have their commercial person.
absolutely. So, folks, I'm sure we added tremendous value to you. Follow us every single week. If you're not part of the community, join it ASAP. School, SKOOL.com and /CREIC, Commercial Real Estate Investor Club. That is for short. And yeah, that document I was speaking about, it's yours.
I
Join the
want it.
community.
I'm going on record. I want it. You've got to send it to me right after this.
Absolutely. You'll have that document if you're part of our community, and we're just going to keep adding more and more. And if you're considering taking it up a notch, getting really serious, talk to us one-on-one, whether it's to be part of the coaching mentoring, or if you were looking to be a commercial loan originator or broker, any regard, let's figure it out.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe, so much. In the next coming weeks, we have a presentation on how to buy, analyze, and finance retail property. We're gonna also show you how we finance things, how our search engine works. And I think we're gonna come up with a document of like being really clear on how how our members in the school community can make money with us. So
Sounds
Joe,
good.
thank you again, and we'll see you next week.
All right. Take care, guys. Thank you so much.